Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Amazing Adventures featuring Killraven, Warrior of the Worlds, number 32 and 34. And once again, these are written by Don McGregor and drawn by P. Craig Russell. We're not looking at number 33 because that was probably a crappy fill-in issue. That's why I sold it 20 years ago. Who knows? Maybe if I looked at it now, it's not so bad. But I remember at the time thinking, this doesn't belong in the Academy. And let's crack these open. We start off with a nice P. Craig Russell solo cover. Now, this is a little disappointing. This issue is inked by Dan Green, who wasn't the worst inker out there, but he's definitely not up to P. Craig Russell standards. The art is a lot less good in this. We do at least have Petra Goldberg on colors once again. Excuse me. One of the best colorists of the 70s, if not the best. So now Killraven and his freemen are in Nashville, Tennessee. And they see this like ruined building. It's kind of impressive. It almost looks like a cathedral. And this is the, I'll try to say this, the octotympanum view scope. Before the Martians took over in 2001, I believe, this was a recent technology at the time, which was almost like a virtual reality thing. So like, 20 years or like 15 years before cyberpunk, this very kind of captures what virtual reality would be imagined to be, a little while later. And this story is called Only the Computer Shows Me Any Respect. So they're tired, they're looking for a place to spend the night, and they find this place. So we see all the freemen, typical, Killraven and Mashiller joking around, as they're wont to do. And they break into this place. Here's the logo for this place, and that's like almost Ken Bruzenak level of design. Pretty neat, even though we barely see it. So they break into this place, and I guess somehow there's still electricity in here, and it still works, because they go into the music hall, and look at this. This is some amazing psychedelic shit. I suspect these two pages are not inked by Dan Green. I think P. Craig Russell inked these himself, and just, didn't want to fudge with the credits. But this is some wicked cool stuff. This is also an example of the early to mid 70s. The lunatics had taken over the asylum at Marvel Comics. There was no editor-in-chief that lasted more than like 3 months there. One of them, I think, lasted 2 weeks. I think Jerry Conway was the editor-in-chief for 3 weeks. So it was just chaos. That's why books were shipping late all the time. But the bright side to that is that a lot of things weren't even looked at. So you could imagine a few years later when Jim Shooter took over, he made the trains run on time, but he would have totally nixed this story, or at least these pages, because this is just almost like something from an underground comic. It's just crazy. It's just an excuse for Don McGregor to write really, experimental, I guess you could call it, writing. But the good side of that is that it gives P. Craig Russell a chance to draw this wicked art. And I'm going to give you an example. I remember in the 70s, I'd see writers do this, like in science fiction. So it's all using like forward slashes to divide these words. Pulsing, carrying, lifting, hurtling, outward, beyond, within, without, amplified awareness, glorified visions. So he's describing the trippy mindscape of Killraven as he's walking through this, whatever it's called. I like this, sound waves are part of the visions. This stuff right here, whatever the hell that is wicked. That is so cool. And then look at this page. A bunch of sound waves mapped out. This beautiful stuff. This is just great stuff. This continues to just kind of it's nonsense. It's hippie gobbledygook. trying to describe a trip, you know. I gotta say, though, it's ambitious, you know. I'd rather read that craziness than just like The Thing punching Dr. Doom for 15 pages and making stupid jokes. A beautiful panel here. He's like flowing through these colored shapes. Killraven looks over and he sees Old Skull's having a totally different trip. Because Old Skull, you know, is a kind of a simpleton. He's like a child. So he has this like kind of very cute, almost a cute fantasy. Almost like he's in a old cartoon. These celery stalks are singing to him, and this goofy squirrel is kind of joking around with him. And Old Skull loves it. He's like a little kid. He's just like, oh, these are my friends. And Killraven is full of joy seeing this. Because, you know, usually everything's so heavy and deep. Or not deep, but, you know, dark in Killraven. Lots of death. So Carmela, her thing is that she hears a funeral dirge. And it's a very somber, almost scary little trip she's having. A bad trip. And she sees Grok, the half-human creature that she cares for, in a coffin. Then we see Mashilla's fantasy, and it's like a Wagnerian music drama. And it's, you know, Mashilla's a warrior at heart, so he's just having this great, heroic fantasy where he's killing Martians by the dozens and bathing in their blood and reveling in his prowess. Kind of a neat idea. It seems like something like in the hands of Alan Moore, this could be so great. The whole idea of like everyone has their own little musical fantasy, different music, and different visions depending on where they're coming from, you know. Of course, Hawk has a very sparse kind of fantasy trip because he's, you know, so no nonsense. So they leave the music hall. The trippy visions go away. And they go to find someplace to sleep. As Old Skull turns around to say goodbye to the squirrel friend, whose name is Walter J. Throgmorton, by the way, he sees a dragon pop up, a very scary dragon. And Old Skull, you know, he's a little kid. He's just like, a dragon. But they like, oh, it's just a fantasy, Old Skull. It's okay. So now we have intermezzo. And we cut away to see Scar is still in his tripod, hunting our Freeman. And he's getting closer. This is the scene of last issue, if you remember. Well, depending on fill-ins. No, I think it was last issue. Where they went to McDonald's. And he sees the corpses of Atalon and the Sacrificer, who the Freeman killed last time. Now we get Fortissimo. And we just see everyone chilling. We see Carmela and Mashilla, their love is getting stronger. Even though she's still worried about Grok. Grok is still dying, basically. Slowly dying. And of course, Hawk is just being a grumpy dick, like normal. So check out these faces here. This is how you can tell it's Dan Green inking. This isn't nearly as good as when P. Greg Russell inks himself. Almost all those pages except the 2-page trip scene. Yeah, this is... Dan Green really kind of butchers these. We get to see a little backstory of Hawk, though. He has a little flashback. I guess he grew up on a reservation, and his father, he kept the old ways, you know, but he became basically a virtual reality addict. It's called I think the Mural Phonics kind of took over from TV. You could actually live, well, you know, virtual reality, how that works. But this is, you know, 15 years before, you know, Neuromancer by Gibson. Well, maybe 10 years. And him and his father would argue about this all the time. He was kind of disgusted with his father for living in this fantasy world and ignoring reality. And they'd kind of argue about it a lot. So one day the father convinces him, he's like, why don't you join me and see what it's like? It's not bad, like, getting to forget about reality every now and then. And so we see the little virtual reality adventure. So it's like a story within a story. And this is interesting because it's this guy named Hodiah Twist is the main character. And as you can see, he's pretty much Sherlock Holmes. I'm pretty sure Hodiah Twist had some solo stories written by Don McGregor in the Marvel Black and White magazines. So it's almost like this crossover between two Don McGregor characters. I like that Petra Goldberg coloring here. It's basically like a Pound of the Baskervilles type adventure they're living through, or whatever you call it, virtual reality. They're virtually experiencing. And then the Hellhound comes out and attacks Hodiah Twist. All of these panels, I can't help but just imagining what they'd look like if P. Craig Russell inked them. And it's bothering me because I see the core of greatness, but then it's kind of muddled. So I think that in this, like, if you die in the virtual reality, you actually die in real life, which seems like a very dangerous entertainment for him, Because I think his father dies after this. Because his father was playing Hodiah. Hawk was playing the Watson character, the Watson knockoff. And they realize that Old Skull is missing, and he's gone back to the whatever, musical fantasy land, Crescendo. And he just wants to see his little friends again. He had such a good time. But then the dragon comes out. Killraven goes into the thing looking for Skull. And all these little cartoon birds are like, Killraven, follow us. Old Skull's in trouble. I love this panel of Old Skull. The look of fear in his face, half in shadow. The dragon's looming right over him. And then the dragon is breathing fire on him, which he can feel. So Killraven jumps into the fray, and he kills the dragon. And then the last panel is kind of like, they give a little moral about, it's obviously talking about television. It's like, it's okay to escape reality every now and then, just as long as it doesn't take over your whole life. Not a bad lesson. I watched about 7 hours of TV when I was a kid. It was ridiculous. Number 34, P. Craig Russell solo cover. I'm sorry. That sphincter face just always gets me. It's ridiculous. I feel like Beavis and Butthead. So now we have this little introduction talking about the nuclear family. However, since the first A-bomb dropped in Japan, we're all a nuclear family. And this story is called The Death in the Family. And this is all P. Craig Russell art, which is a good thing. And once again, of course, Don McGregor and Petra Goldberg coloring. Don McGregor warns us today, not one, but two of this family will die. So this is a key issue. We see three of the Freemen having a chill day. They're racing these mutated animals. I think this one's like a cougar and a bull. All these weird creatures. And they're joking around. It's a nice time. They're, every now and then you got to relax, even when you're fighting Martians. Carmela wins the race, and Michelle rewards her with a smooch. They're very much in love, those two. Oh man, look at that. I love this panel so much. So now we see Old Skull and Hawk. I guess they're foraging in the forest here. But that is just beautiful. And look at the colors on this page too. Really nice. And then all of a sudden in the distance we see the tripod and Scar looking at them. He presses the button on the flamethrower and totally nails Old Skull, and he falls off his feet. It looks pretty messed up. I like the body language there, him getting knocked over. So meanwhile, Killraven, Michelle, and Carmela, they see this old auto junkyard. And, you know, they're talking like they always do. There's a lot of talking in these comics. And basically, Killraven once again brings up, like, why is it such a mystery who this Grok is? Who is this Grok? And Carmela finally spills the beans and says, Grok was my father. And we see this beautifully drawn flashback. These pages are interesting because it almost looks like P. Greg Russell's trying out a different style. Like just the inking, everything about it, even though it's very P. Greg Russell. But it looks different than the rest of the comic, and it looks really good. I love this little sequence. So I guess before the Martians invaded, Carmela was a scientist, and her father was a scientist. He basically taught her everything he knew. And they were working on cloning experiments. When the Martians invaded, they were very fascinated by cloning. I guess they didn't have the technology themselves. So this doesn't make much sense at all, though. But so they kill the father, the guy who knows the most about cloning, because they figure it'll give impetus to the daughter to figure out how to clone him, because nobody's ever cloned a human before. They figure, oh yeah, she'll really, work hard because she wants to see her father again. But why not let him stay alive, the guy who knows the most about cloning? Just really dumb. But, who cares? It's, whatever. Just great stuff. Look at all these beakers and stuff. It's beautiful detail. So she kind of admits that, she just kind of wasn't thinking about the rest of the world. Just wanted to clone her dad. So that's when they first find Carmela, which we haven't seen because that was before P. Greg Russell took over. She was like working for the Martians and they were going to either kill her or whatever. She was the enemy, but she realized, oh yeah, I'm coming with you guys. You guys are the good guys. I love this little sequence. So when the cloning experiment didn't work, her father became Grok. It was a flawed cloning. And he became this, half-human imbecile, basically. So we're back to Hawk and Old Skull. Scar comes out, kicks Old Skull in the head, even though he looks like he's half dead anyway. And then I didn't even know that he had these powers, Scar. I guess he can shoot force blasts from that sphincter in his face. And it dissolves a rock, a big boulder. He's trying to kill Hawk. So, it's quite formidable villain. Now we're back with the other three, and they see, as they're walking back to the camp, they see the tripod parked there. Killraven tells Michelle to go on the tripod and, fuck it up. And Carmela and Killraven run to the camp to see what's going on. Killraven finds Old Skull really banged up, and he's just enraged, full of sorrow too. Very dramatic. He picks up a gun and he's going after Scar. I gotta stop commenting on every panel here, but I'm sorry. It's so good. Oh man, I love this page. All these little panels. Killraven is stalking Scar. Scar has a beat on Michelle. He sees him in the tripod, so he's stalking him. Great colors by Petra Goldberg once again. That's a really just fun page, interesting layout that you don't often see. So Scar doesn't realize it, but Carmela's sneaking up on him. He turns around So he's got tons of powers, this guy. He's like really superhuman. And he raises his hand, and it's like a tractor beam. Her gun flies into his hand and he crushes it. Carmilla's just like, oh shit, I'm fucked. Michelle shoots a crossbow into the back of his neck that actually goes through the front, completely penetrates his neck, and it doesn't even faze him. So this guy's like the fucking Terminator. It's like, yeah, these guys are screwed. He totally knocks both of them off their feet, and he's getting ready to do another sphincter blast. But then Killraven jumps off the cliff and piggybacks on him. And Killraven stabs him right in his sphincter hole, his face hole, and doesn't even faze him once again. Killraven tackles him. I love that panel. That is some really good heroic stuff. Once again, another kind of fun sequence of just quick cuts. And we go back to Killraven's fight with Scar. It looks like Killraven's not having much luck. This is really interesting here. That is so Gil Kane looking to me. I think the earliest Peak Rig wrestler art, he did have more Kane influence. Every now and then you'd see it as panels, but pretty soon, you don't really see it. So all the characters except for Old Skull kind of convene, and they're all like surrounding Scar, even though it doesn't look like they can do anything to him. And Scar looks up at this outcrop of rock and does one of his force blasts at it. And the rocks are falling on Grok. Grok happened to be sitting in that area. And this is interesting because Hawk, like for the whole series, has been just like, why do you have to carry around this guy? He's half dead. Let's just leave him. He's slowing us down. Kind of heartless. He jumps in heroically and tries to pull him out in time, but he doesn't. He fails. And we see the rocks crushing him. Something really weird's going on with these hands. That's kind of a fail there. I don't know what's going on there. But I love this last panel. All it is boulders falling. It's so well drawn. Just beautifully illustrated. So Killraven flips his wig. And he pulls out a laser gun. And he starts shooting at Scar. And it's weird. After all the things Scar has gone through, somehow a few laser bolts to his side and his arm seem to be slowing him down. All of a sudden, I don't get it. And look at Killraven, he's so angry. And so when he gets close, he just starts wailing on him. Look at that panel. He's all freaking out. The whole time, Scar is just laughing because Scar feels no pain. Like you can see, he's pretty much a robot. So I don't know why all of a sudden it's so easy to overcome him. But Killraven does. And the whole time he's laughing. And then we end with a quote. I will cry to the heavens for justice, and they will reply with their own retribution. In the words of Archie Bunker. God, Don McGregor could be so pretentious. I don't know what that quote's from. Maybe it's from the Bible, maybe, I don't know. But it was his choice to stick it in there, so I blame him. But nonetheless, for the most part, superior writing from anyone writing back then. It's just sometimes Don McGregor was a little too ambitious, trying to make comics more mature, more for adults. And sometimes he didn't quite reach the heights that he wanted. Yeah, Don McGregor gets a lot of crap. I've heard a lot of pundits say that like he's the worst comic writer ever and stuff. And I could see it's kind of annoying, But like I said before, I'd rather see someone like try something interesting and fail than just some typical routine, hack work any day. And sometimes his purple prose is actually kind of nice. Every now and then, some of the panels are well written. He just overdoes it sometimes. He just can't help himself. So I hope you like these guys. This is Amazing Adventures number 32 and 34. In a week or 2 or 3, I'll do the next 2. I hope you're here to watch those. Hope you're enjoying these. At the very least, though, you got to be enjoying the art. Please tell me, because it's so good. So I guess that's it for tonight. And hopefully we'll see you here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.